And in today's video, it's time for the second part of the story of PowerStorm. So stick with me and have a good time. Hello friends, it's me, Kostas, the guy behind you know what. I hope you liked the first part of the PowerStorm story, and today I'm gonna continue my storytelling from where I left it. So let's go. We are now in September 1995, where we gave our first gig ever as PowerStorm. We played in the Ep.3 bar, and for all those who don't know what Ep.3 is, I have a solution for you. Go and check the first part. Well, I cannot say it was a professional gig because we didn't have any PA at all. It was just the drums, the amps, an extra guitar amp for the microphone, which was attached to a cymbal stand by using a wire. Yes, a wire. Pretty primitive stuff. About 80 people came to watch us play live, which was pretty unexpected, if you ask me. And to be honest, I don't remember much from that gig, except for the fact that my hair got stuck into the wire it was holding the microphone I mentioned before, and I couldn't move without taking the mic stand with me, which was pretty funny, although uncomfortable. But we had a great time. A couple of months later, we got the chance to open for a very well-known thrash metal band of the 90s, the band Epidemic. Of course, we still didn't have any PA, but we had a handmade stage. I also had a new guitar and a new amp, so my playing and our sound was kind of improved. A lot of people came to attend this show, about 170 people, which was a huge number for Argos back then. And we performed extremely well, if I remember correctly. After this live show with Epidemic, we became quite well known in our area and outside of it. So we got invitations to play in several clubs and festivals here in Argos and Nafplio, and we performed very, very well. And then we got an invitation to play in Corinthos. And I got some very interesting and funny stories to tell you about our live gigs in Corinthos. The very first one took place in a local club called Reflection, if I remember correctly, and we played with a local hardcore band whose name I cannot recall, and I'm very sorry about it. But it was a great gig. Lots of people came there to watch us, more than 200 people, I guess. Inside the club, outside the club, it was tremendous for us. And the sound was good, and we performed extremely well. People loved us. A few weeks later, the club called us to play there again, with the same hardcore band. But something went wrong. I didn't know what happened, and I never asked, but they came to watch us only 3 people. Yes, you heard right, just 3 people. In fact, there were 2.5 because one of them was so drunk that he fell asleep on a couch at the back of the venue. Christos, our guitar player, was furious and he wanted to leave. And I don't blame him for that. He was right. But in my mentality, things are kind of different. You see, when I gotta play somewhere, I gotta play. Even if I have 3,000 people in front of me or just 3 people, when I gotta play, I gotta play. And I tried to change his mind. I said to him, come on, Christos, we came here, we gotta play. And he said, no, I will not play. And then I said to him, come on, think of it as a good rehearsal with free beers. And he answered, No, I'm leaving. And then I decided to say a joke. And I said to him, we are four. They're just three. If they come on us, we will kick their asses. And he started laughing so loud. And he said to me, okay, Kostas, you convinced me. Let's play. And we did. And we played very, very well. A few weeks later, or maybe a month later, I don't remember, we were invited to play again in Corinthos, but this time in an open festival with the other two bands. But the problem was that Christos could not come to play with us because he was working and he could not change his shift. So we went to play there, just the three of us. And I had to improvise Christos' parts also. I don't remember if I did it well, but people liked it, so I think I got away with it. But there I got the chance to meet another great guy. One of the two other bands playing in the same festival were Extremity Obsession, a thrash metal band who is active until today, I think. But back then, their drummer was the beast of death metal drumming, Mr. George Kollas. Everyone in Corinthos was talking about George Kollas, but I've never heard of this guy. But when he came and brought with him his double bass drum kit, I think it was a Pearl, I realized that this guy is dead serious. And when he started playing, I couldn't believe my eyes and my ears. This guy was fucking awesome. But George Kollas was not only an enormous metal drummer, but he was also a great guy. So gentle and so friendly, with such love for metal drumming. And I knew from that very day that he would become very famous in metal drumming. And he did, and he deserves it 100%. Unfortunately, I don't have any pictures from that gig with George Kollas because we didn't take any. His brother, who was the guitar player of Extremity Obsession back then, took some pictures of us, but we never got the chance to meet again and ask them for some copies of these pictures. But if you know George Kollas, please ask him if he remembers that gig, and maybe he will find some pictures to send me. Thank you. We are now in autumn 1996, and we had to make a very, very hard and difficult decision. We had to fire our drummer, Akis. And why we decided that? Well, Akis had chosen a path in his life that would destroy him, and eventually it did. We tried to change his mind several times, but he wouldn't listen to us. So we had to protect the band and let him go. And we had to fire him before we recorded anything because we didn't want to use him to play the drum parts and then fire him because this would be unethical, right? So we let him go, and then we went into the studio to record our first demo. So in autumn 1996, we went to the studio and recorded our very first demo using MIDI drum programming. Some of you may know it as Imprisoned because that was the title we gave it in order to send it to some magazines for a review, but we later released it as The Coming. But it's the same demo, the same songs, maybe in a different mastering, but pretty much the same. The Coming had 5 songs in it. The Coming of the Storm, yes, The Coming of the Storm on Act 2 is based on that one, but it's totally, totally different. Mother is Dying, The Wolf, On My Side, and an instrumental titled PowerStorm. Yes, PowerStorm on Act 2 is based on that one, but it's also totally different, and it has lyrics. The Coming received very, very, very good reviews from metal press, domestic and international, and many of our fans loved it. In fact, now it's sold out, so if you are collecting CDs and you find it somewhere, go get it. But in the meantime, we found a new drummer, Mr. Christos Koutroufinis. Christos was a friend of the other Christos, the guitar player, and he didn't know anything about heavy metal, but he really wanted to play loud. And when he realized that with us he could play as loud as he wanted, and after he listened to some of metal songs from bands like Metallica and Dream Theater, he loved heavy metal and became a metal drummer. Having now Christos behind the drum kit allowed us to continue play live gigs in the clubs and festivals, and in that period we got the chance to share the stage with some of the greatest metal bands of Greece, bands like the Legends, Spitfire, and the most famous Greek metal band out there, Rotting Christ. Yes, you heard right, Rotting Christ gave a live performance during Christmas 1999 here in Argos, and we opened for them. Of course, I don't have any pictures to show you because I was too shy to ask them for a picture. But I was impressed with Mr. Sakis Tolis because he was very kind, very gentle, and he loved to play Deep Purple on guitar. At the same time, we went back in the studio and recorded, using real drums this time, our second demo CD with the title Promo 2000. Okay, it's not a great title. We were planning to release it, but we never did. And if you dig well on the internet, you may find a copy of it. If you do, go and get it. Promo 2000 had also 5 songs: Break the Chain, Riding to Freedom, Long Gone, Land of Fire, and another one called Warrior in the Sky, a song about an aircraft dogfight. I never used it in Act 1 or Act 2, but who knows, maybe I'll use it in the future. After Promo 2000, we continued to play live gigs, mostly in our area, and we had a proposition from a record label to connect these 2 demos into a full album, but it appeared to my eyes that this record label owner was not that honest, so I decided to refuse his offer, and I think it was for the best. We are now in 2002, where Grigoris came to me and say, well, Kostas, I'm gonna leave the band because I don't want to be a musician anymore. I want to do other things in my life. Okay, it was a very tough moment for me and the band. I and we tried to change his mind, but it was impossible. So we continued rehearsing new songs without him, but also without replacing him, because we were hoping that he would change his mind. He didn't. And most of all, because we, and certainly I, did not want to replace him. Because Grigoris was not just a band member, he was my friend. He was a member of my family. And I didn't want to replace a member of my family with some other guy. So we continued that way. A year later, in 2003, Christos Zachos, the guitar player, told me that he would take his wife and 2 kids and go and settle abroad. He went to live in Australia, and he still lives there until today. He's very happy, and I am very happy about him and his beautiful family. And at that time, since I did not want to replace Christos either, because I also thought of him as a member of my family, I realized that this was the end of PowerStorm as a full band. I made my decision and put an end on PowerStorm, but kept it alive in me. From that very moment, I realized that I was PowerStorm, and I made a promise to myself. I promised that one day I would release a PowerStorm album. And I did that in 2011. And things remained that way until 2023, where I released my second PowerStorm album, Act.2. Well, what is PowerStorm right now? Well, it is just me, my guitars, my computer, and my very good friend and producer, Mr. Athanasios Karapanos. I will talk about him in a future episode, but I must say that I think of him as a full band member, because he is. And what PowerStorm will be in the future? Well, I cannot predict the future, but the possibilities of forming a new band are rather low. First of all, because I cannot find any decent metal musicians around here, but also because I still think of PowerStorm as the band I formed with my very good friends back in the 90s. And I do not want to ruin that in my mind and in my heart. Well, that's the end of the second and last part of the PowerStorm story. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, okay, so many buttons down there to hit them. I'll see you next time in the next About video, in which I will talk about the making of Act 1. Until then, take care of yourselves and support the bands and the music that you love. Bye bye.